Welcome back to yet another video for our RxJS series. In this video, we would be talking about the zip operator. We would be trying to compare it with fork join, and we will see like how we checked the last time when fork join we tried to apply the interval operator, it didn't work, and it then in the fork join document it suggested us to use the zip or combine latest. We'll see zip. Maybe later on we would see the combine latest too. So starting up with zip. So zip is quite similar to fork join, and as it says, it combines multiple observables to create an observable whose value is calculated from the values in order of each of its input observable. So how we have seen in the fork join, the same order which we give as an input, we receive this output in the same order. So we have the same mechanism of fork join in zip. The major difference which we see in this is the disadvantage or the drawback of a fork join, which was that if we add a operator or an observable which emits across or which emits a lot of data, fork join was not able to capture it, because fork join says I would be able to capture only the data which has mostly or max to max one stream of data. That's what we see in the last example. But in this one, we would be seeing that if we, let's say, if we use operators which would send a stream of data, zip would be able to zip it up and give us as output. So moving moving ahead, we see that it returns an observable of array values. This is another difference which we have seen in fork join. Fork join, the input can be an object or a dictionary, and it can be an array too. But in zip, it always accepts an array and returns an array. So it accepts an array and it returns an array. There's no possibility of inputting an object. Okay, cool. So let's look at the marble diagram. In this marble diagram, what we see is we have two observables as an input to zip operator. And then what zip operator says is until unless both the observable emits a single value, it wouldn't emit. So the purpose of zip operator is it always pairs up, or it will always wait for all the observable to at least emit a value. Only then it would give us a value as an output. So what we see is in the first observable, one is emitted, but there is no output. Why? Because second observable hasn't emitted a value. So now since value A was emitted, only then we see that 1A came. Similarly, 2 and B came 2B. Over here, C was emitted first, but there is no output. Since this value was already used over here, it isn't combining with this. So it will wait for the first observable to emit one more value. So 3 and C combines and gives us 3C. And then what we see is next value is again 4. And the next value for the second observable is D, so 4D. One thing to note over here is the first observable emitted one more value, which is 5. But since the second observable is only emitting 4 values, there is no there is no pair of for this value. So this value is basically ignored by the zip operator. So that's the point that to be noted. What we can conclude from this marble diagram is until unless there is a value from all the observable, it wouldn't emit. So what we saw over here is that even though one came up, the value wasn't emitted because it was waiting for the second observable to emit a single value. So if let's say there are more than one more values, let's say 0 over here, so that 0 would be ignored. That is the thing that needs to be noted. So that could be a disadvantage to it, that it would wait for all the observables to complete, or not complete, it would wait for all the observables to emit one single value, and whatever be the last value, that would be used for the return. Okay, we'll see an example. Good. So this is one of the example which I took partially from the documentation itself. So in this example, what we see is there are 3 observables, age, name, and isDev, and that is being passed to zip. Okay, and since we said it accepts only array, so but if let's say we don't do this pipe, let me just comment this up. So what we see is it would give us a array. It would not give us an object. So we have done a pipe just to convert that to an object. So what we see over here is that it would give so it would give the first value 27 foo, and since the last observable is only having one value, it would only emit one time. This was just copied from that, so yeah. So it would give only one value, 27 foo and dev. But let's say if I have multiple values from here, maybe let me just copy this and paste it, and maybe change a few values, or even if it is same, so it would emit all the three objects. Cool. So that is what I think we have even seen in fork join, that okay, if we have given multiple values, it would actually give us the output for that. So that doesn't make any much difference from what we have seen in fork join. But now let's try to see an example which differentiates it with fork join. Yeah, so let's see one more example where we are using intervals, which we were not able to use in fork join, which makes a key difference between fork join and zip. Cool. So we have three observables again, interval of 1 second, 2 second, and 3 second. Cool. And we are adding that to the zip operator. First observable, second observable, and third observable. So for second observable, we are taking only the first two values, and third observable, we are taking only the three values. This is just for illustration purpose, so that we don't have to see a lot of values. Cool. So now what we see is it emits after 1 second. It emits after 2 seconds, and this one emits after 3 seconds. So what we can see as an output is the first observable, the first value which would be coming is after 3 seconds, and then again after 3 seconds we would get one more value, and we would not get any other further values. Why? Because this would still emit values. This would also emit one more value, but since we are taking only the first two values, we will not be getting more outputs. It would be quite similar to what we have seen in the marble diagram, that the fifth pipe value was still there in an observable, but we were not able, or that zip operator was not able to show that because the other observables were not having the pair values of it. So let's say if I change this to 4, you would see 3 values actually. Why? Because this is limiting that. So 3 seconds, 3 seconds, and one more 3 seconds, it would come. Got it? So yeah, that is pretty much it. I would like to show you one more thing. In this sense, in the documentation, if you would have noticed, it says if the last parameter is a function, this function is used to compute the created value from the input values. Let's see an example. In this, we are using the zip operator again, and we are having total 3 inputs. Last input is actually a function, which it was saying that if the last parameter is a function, that would be used to compute the created value. Cool. So why am I saying cool so much time? So what we see is first input is this, second input is this, and then the function is adding the values. So 1 plus 4 is 5. Similarly, 2 plus 5 is 7, and 3 plus 6 would be 9. You must be wondering if this is a value. So let's try with using an observer instead of an array. So for that, I would use of operator and give a value. And what do you think would happen in this case? 1, 4, 5, 6. So again, 1 is the single value. For that, the pair would be 4. But 5, 6, there are no pairs from the first observable. So that would be ignored. But let me add one more of pair and maybe 2. So 1 plus 2 would be 3. So that shows up here. Cool. So yeah, that is what we have seen in the zip operator. That would be all for this video. See you in the next one. Till then, happy coding.